Welcome to the Win Again Clubroom. My name is Mark Moyer, and yes, you are in the Clubroom. And today we have a really special presentation because I'm a big fan of innovation, and I'm a big fan of people who invent stuff and think of things that, quite frankly, most of us had never thought of. And or if we've thought about it, we just kind of left it sitting on our brain and we didn't put it down to paper or didn't tell anybody else or really didn't execute. And these folks are involved with the execution part of things and everything else. So look, I'm going to bring each of my speakers in right now. Welcome, doctors, DRSs. It's really cool to have you both here. Just a quick look, I'm going to do a couple little miniature quick intros because I really want to get into the meat of what we're talking about. And so Dr. Susan Kleiner, she's been I mean, you know what? I'm going to cut. Look, the fact that she's written 8 books is ridiculous. I've written one. It took 1,000 years to do. She's written 8, which means it took her 8,000 years to do, which is incredible. But she's run her own company, High Performance Nutrition, for a long time. She's been a professor for a long time. So we have to also, I guess, call you Professor Minor as well, I guess. I don't know. She was the first full-time she ran the first full-time nutrition program in the NFL with the Cleveland Browns back when they were coached by Bill Belichick, who's gone on to, I don't know, be coach of some other team. I don't know what they're called. But she's amazing. Now she's involved with this really cool product we'll be talking about today called Electrolyte Boost. Thanks for being here. Hooray. And Dr. Hutchison has been a dentist for a long time. In fact, I did some math the other day and figured out that he's done at least 5,000 root canals. But that's not why we're talking today, because he is a neuro-muscular dentist, which is way more than a regular dentist, I promise you. He's invented, because look, his mission is to reduce and eliminate concussions for all athletes. And he invented a mouth guard we'll talk about in a minute that virtually eliminates the risk of and occurrences of concussions, but also elevates your performance dramatically. So we'll talk about that in a minute. So thanks to both of you for sharing your time today. I know your time is very valuable. So I'm going to just jump right in, and I'm going to start with you, Dr. Kleiner. What on earth possessed you back when it was to get involved with nutrition? What was it that one day you woke up and said, you know what, food, we all eat like crap, we all do whatever it is, I'm changing all that?
Well, so, in this kind of setting, it's great to say that sometimes one sentence that someone says can change your life, right? And so I actually had applied to medical school. I was really interested in nutrition as a hobby. I went to a very small undergraduate liberal arts college in Ohio, Hiram College, and there was no training pre-med. If you wanted to go to medical school, it was kind of like you were a failure in research. And so I was very research focused, but I was also super interested in health. And I applied to med school, and the dean of admissions happened to be from Case Western Reserve University Medical School, happened to be the dad of a good friend of mine from high school who knew me. And he said, "Oh, Susan, we would love to have you in medical school, but you're not going to learn anything about what you're interested in. You're interested in health. We teach people how to treat disease. Go talk to the Department of Nutrition." And I just went, "Oh my God, nutrition is a science. I thought it was just a hobby." And I have to, to explain this is 1979. Okay. So the term prevention didn't
Yeah,
exist. I
yeah.
don't think the magazine prevention existed yet, although organic gardening, organic farming did. Um, anyway, that was my route. I had been a modern dancer, trained at the Graham Studio at 15 and 16 years old in New York City,
Yeah.
but that clearly was not going to be my path. I came home, applied to college, etc. And so once I got into my master's degree in nutrition, it was abundantly clear I wanted to understand the nutritional needs of exercise, and that was not a field. And so there were at the time around a dozen of us training similarly in as nutritionists, as dietitians, card carrying nutritionists, that really pioneered the field of sports nutrition, separate from exercise physiology. And the rest is history.
Well, and it's quite a history. I mean, you've done it for, I mean, I hate to talk to people like us and say, well, we've done it for X amount of years, because then people start doing the math. Like whenever I go up to speak to my school, I always tell them that I graduated when I was 6 years old, because they
Yeah.
start, if I say I'm class of whatever 86, they'll be like, oh my God, I'm like, no, no, no. I graduated when I was 6. Anyways, Dr. Hutchison. So you've obviously been practicing for quite a while, but there had to be a moment that you sort of, I don't know about woke up, but you said, wait a second, there's got to be a better way. And there is. Ding. Walk me through that.
Right. Well, I got to first say that I grew up in a sports family. My dad was one of the first exercise physiologists in the country. He was a professor at Iowa State University, and
Oh, yeah.
we he had season tickets to every game, and he was a sports nut and a Yankee fan. Don't hold that against him. But so that's my background, and I played 3 sports in high school, and played church basketball until I got too old. But when I went to Loyola Dental School, which was a top clinical school in the nation, it's now closed, but uh, clinically we were trained very well. And there was one thing though that was given to dentists called TMJ that nobody really wanted to touch because nobody really knew anything about it. And it was one of those things where if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. There's nothing we can do. And that's just not in my uh, repertoire to be a doctor and to help people have better health. And I have to tell them I can't do anything. And so I was frustrated with that. I had 5 patients that had severe migraines, chronic pain, um, and I didn't know what to do. And I just somehow came across this person who'd been working on TMJ for 30 years and basically emphasized his career. He was a dentist in doing TMJ, and he had a different way, and it's called neuro-muscular dentistry, which was kind of in its infancy because dentists in schools taught a skeletal model, and neuromuscular is a muscle function, is really how the jaw works. So I came back and I cured those 5 people and started seeing as many TMJ patients as I could. And when we got to the point where the pain was gone and they were functioning normally, uh, people started bringing up to me the fact that they felt stronger now and they didn't feel like they needed to take a nap in the afternoon, and wanted to know what that was all about. And I didn't really know. So my sports background brought me into thinking, well, if Mrs. Jones is stronger, what would happen if I took the 0-9 Lions and increased their strength by 25%? They'd be in the Super Bowl and I'd be a genius. So I started testing people. I started making a physiologic jaw positioning mouth guard and seeing what kind of results. And the results were phenomenal. The first person I ever tried it on was 65 years old, won a national championship in power bench press, went on to break the world record in Prague and held it for 10 years. And the only thing that he did differently was position his jaw in that physiologic jaw position. And as Susan said, the rest is history. I continued to study strength increase, and Wayne State University did a study on physiologic jaw position and showed a 16.8% increase in strength. And that was basically put physiologic jaw position on the map. When I was doing that, uh, just fell out of the sky. These 100 boys that I was testing for 6 years, and one of them was my son, had no concussions. They had phenomenal seasons. The St. Francis School here in Traverse City won 5 state championships in a row using physiologic jaw position and had no concussions. And my son's public school team had 3 undefeated seasons and again, no concussions over 6 years. So that was just the road that started me on inventing and developing a way to harness that physiologic jaw position, which is unique to every single person. Every person is different, but the mouth guard, which was invented in 1950, is one size fits all, and that's why all these parameters haven't changed in all that year, because they're not in their physiologic jaw position. So this is where I'm at now with this new discovery in physiologic jaw position. We can actually reduce concussions down to 0.2%, and we can increase your strength by 16.8%.
Nice. That's fantastic. We're going to talk a little bit more about the mouth guard in a couple of minutes, but I guess what I want to hear now, just shifting gears a little bit, and for you, Dr. Sue, if you could tell me a little bit about, because you're in the world of nutrition, I think people, when they hear the words supplement, some people are excited about that. Some people are confused by it. Other people automatically think it's bad stuff for you. And it's kind of a wild west a little bit. When you hear that word, I mean, tell me a little bit about how, or maybe you can explain to us what we should or shouldn't be looking for.
Well, it's true that that's how people feel, Mark, and historically, probably for good reason, and in a way, there's a mirroring between what Dr. Hutchison is doing. I mean, a mouth guard is a supplement, right? I mean, it's not part of our body. And the
Right?
old mouth guards, according to what he's saying, aren't as nearly as helpful. And so, the old history of supplements is not what we have today. Number one, there is uh, government regulation over supplements. It is not fully the Wild West. Um, there are supplements that probably have more studies than certain drugs. Creatine is notable in that.
Mm.
Um, but the whether or not you really need them is kind of up to you, which is different than how we think about drugs, which we take that have often far more side effects, but we think that the risk is less than the benefit, right? We really need them, and we've got a guide who's saying, a physician or a dentist or someone who is telling us you need to take this. With supplements, it's kind of on us unless you find a professional like myself, and I will guide people to what you need. What we understand today is that there are various kinds of supplements doing all different kinds of things. Sort of the foundational supplements of, do you need extra iron? Do you need calcium? Do you need vitamin D? Most people get that. They understand we can measure in your body that you have a low level and you're not getting enough from your diet for many different reasons, possible reasons, and you take more. But things like, for instance, Electrolyte Boost, which we're working on, which is really exciting, is, can you be super well? Just again, in line with Dr. Hutchison, can you do better than okay? How do you reach optimal? And that is my world, the world of high performance nutrition. Anywhere in your life where you want to feel and perform better, whether that's, from the court to the boardroom to the locker room to the bedroom, I don't care where it is, to the classroom, right? So with Electrolyte Boost, the origin story is really fun. So our founder, Gary Kleinman, who I think is at a table here today, called me a while ago and said, if you had one ingredient you would want to add to an electrolyte boost supplement, a reason people need to take something every day very often is to boost our electrolytes, especially as we are getting into hotter climates. We want to spend more outside, more time outside, etc. Lots of reasons. everyone's not a great fruit and vegetable eater. Lots of reasons why we need extra electrolytes. If I could add one thing to something that people would take daily, what would it be? And I just went bananas. It was absolutely a single nutrient, and that was choline, because we know that Americans are marginally low in our choline intakes. We know that choline is essential for brain health. It impacts our ability to remember, it impacts memory, brain health, um, ability, sort of hand-eye coordination, focus, attention, and it is part of a neurotransmitter called acetylcholine, which works 24/7 every time we think and move.
Hmm.
And so if we're low in that, we're never going to be operating optimally. And most supplements with choline are not absorbed very well, don't get to really where they need to go. But there is this, and I've been talking about choline since I wrote The Good Mood Diet in 2007. And so um, I said to Gary, there is an optimal ingredient called cognizin, and it gets right into your brain, and it is identical to this compound phosphatidylcholine. And so we added that to Electrolyte Boost. And so here's a way that you can feel better, perform better. Maybe, maybe you just, when you're tired, you take an Electrolyte Boost and it gives you a little lift. There's no stimulant, and what's wrong with that? Like, there's everything good about that. Science marches on. We depend on science for advancing so many things. Here is a point where something that's good for you, that you may be low in, actually isn't coming in appropriate amounts from your diet, is hard to get in unless you're eating a bunch of egg yolks a day. And you can eat an egg yolk a day with no problem, but many is not what people typically eat. And so this was an ideal vehicle, and that's why this is the concept of the really beneficial use of supplements, where you can supplement exactly your diet and what you're doing in your life to reach optimal, not just good enough.
Oh, I like that answer. That's great. So, Dr. Hutchison, if you want that little extra, those neurons firing a little bit better when you're doing some dental work, maybe a little electrolyte boost in the morning will get that cranking.
What'd you say your name was? Oh,
Uh,
yeah, now I remember.
You can't remember? Yeah, take a
Hang
little
on.
Electrolyte Boost.
Maybe.
Here we go. I'll send it over.
Hey,
Anyways,
beautiful.
thank you. Now you're cranking. So thank you for that, though, Dr. Kleiner. I appreciate that. So Dr. Hutchison. So here's the scoop. You've come up with this fantastic device, this mouth guard, and which does physiologically align your jaw in a way that, number one, does reduce the chances for getting a concussion, but also secondly increases your performance. But why do you think it hasn't really gotten to be as huge as it could be? And then secondly, and I don't mean to make that a negative question, but more so, I think the challenge with both of these situations here is the concept of education, right? We need to educate people on why choline is important to get into your diet and into your system. Also, why is it important to have this mouth guard? I mean, some people might think, oh, it's just another mouth guard. Geez, Mike, I'm sure you've run into that 1,000 times. Well, what's the big deal? I already have a mouth guard, or I already had a dentist do one for me, right? So the challenge is the education aspect. Tell me a little bit about how you hope to get past some of that education. And is it just a question of maybe some high profile athletes using this thing, or even low profile athletes using it, so that people start seeing it every day, and then they start realizing, wait a minute, my son or daughter playing soccer or playing whatever it is should be wearing this. I don't want them to have a concussion, obviously. How do we, is tell me a little bit about what you're hoping to do going forward with this.
Well, I think that this format here is really helpful because there's a lot of people listening, watching, and they have friends, they have family, they have kids, and they can help teach people that there's a better way. And I think it's great that Susan's here, because one of the theories about physiologic jaw position is we eat so much processed food that genetically we don't reach our genetic potential. And one of the places where we found that we don't reach the genetic potential is in our jaw, in relation to the size of it to the skull. There was a study done of native cultures, Eskimos, I think, that a guy named Casey Gousset and Hank Shimbashi of Canada took some skulls, 100,000 skulls from the Smithsonian, and measured uh, the perfect bite from a native culture who didn't eat processed food, and came up with a perfect number, and that extrapolates to us. And so when you put your jaw in that perfect number, you get lots of benefits. And that the theory behind that was we don't eat right, so but as far as getting the word out, it's like, I know, how did Apple do it? They had a commercial in the Super Bowl, and then Apple became huge. um, it takes so much money to do that, and so I've always
Yeah.
felt that the grassroots is the way to go, and I've spent a lot of effort in getting on the media, and I'm starting to be interviewed more and more as an expert, and that's really pushing things forward, because people can hear about it and learn that there is a better way. I mean, if you think about just football, uh, all the equipment has changed except for the mouth guard, and it's 73 years old with a 73-year-old idea of how the jaw functioned and what the science was, and really the intent was to keep you from banging your teeth and fracturing them, because
Right.
some Notre Dame players were having that problem, and the ADA said, well, we'll just make a mouth guard to keep them from banging their teeth together. So what I'm talking about, is a guard, but it's actually an orthotic to position your jaw in a physiologic jaw position that lets nerve information go to your muscles and keeps your joints separated, so that when you get a blow to the head, that doesn't translate those G forces up to your brain. And this is what we're talking about. And so, yeah, any way that I can reach mass people, it can spread, is my hope.
That's great, because look, you're a full-time dentist. You have patients. You've got one in 9 minutes, right? Or whatever it might be. So, I mean,
Absolutely.
so, so
Looking at my schedule here.
I know. Don't look. But I mean, look, it's obviously very challenging for you to run this or try to run this business while you're running your dental practice, right? So that's why it is pretty important. We spoke to somebody earlier about the idea of really trying to get almost like a team behind you. But of course, that takes resources. How do you get those resources? Well, you got to sell some of the product. How do you sell the product? Well, so it's a big circle, just like it is with Electrolyte Boost and others. Look, I wanted to show people real quick that I happen to have one of the mouth guards here, and I can safely tell you that I took some time to fit it properly, and it just goes right in, and I can still speak, right? And I didn't want to show off my performance right there, because maybe I could speak 17% faster. I'm not sure, but it is.
Definitely get more oxygen.
I can definitely get more, which I need to keep on pumping out the the hot CO2 that comes out all the time. But no, listen, and I think it's a fantastic product, and it's just now a question. So I think one thing and one challenge I'd like to send out to everybody is to see if you have people in your world, whoever they may be, whether it's kids, adults, et cetera, that are athletes and or coaches and or people that run teams or leagues, or really even it could be dancers. It could be anybody who's exercising in a way that there may be an opportunity to increase their performance, right? Be able to dance that much better, be able to run that much faster, lift that much more weight, but also most importantly, I think also is just the ability to avoid I mean, look, concussions, we all know it's not a short-term impact, it's a long-term impact. And any way we can prevent just one person from a concussion is a fantastic thing. I know that we've talked about getting this into the military. That would be absolutely enormous. If any of you have connections into the military, I'm sure Dr. Hutchison would love to chat with them. And the same goes for pivoting over to Electrolyte Boost. And I've got one here. This stuff is absolutely amazing. I take it before I play ice hockey. I will safely tell you that it does give me a little more, I don't know how exactly. Well, I mean, the doctor will tell me how, but gives me more clarity, gives me more, like, I feel like I've got an extra little jump to my game. But also, what's interesting, and I don't know how to explain this, is that I typically drink a full thing of water when I'm on the bench playing hockey. And now I'm only drinking maybe a third to a half as much. So I almost feel like and it's not something that I'm consciously saying, I'm going to drink less water now. It's actually, I'm not as thirsty. But I'm telling you, this thing works wonders. It's really a fantastic product, and it's super easy to use because all you do is just rip it open and just pour it right in. And man, I love that taste too. Tastes great. It's and the funny part is, if you ask 10 people what it tastes like, you'll get 10 different answers. But it's definitely a very strong taste, but it almost, to me, it's very citrusy and delicious. But what's the Dr. Kleiner, what do you think is what are some of the most important sort of effects of having Electrolyte Boost come into your system?
Yeah, so the thing about electrolytes that people are
Mm.
sort of not really aware of is we drink all these sports drinks and everyone thinks it's all about the fluid that you're getting in and it's flavored. And certainly, in order to hydrate, you have to have fluid. But it's the electrolytes that help you move the fluid into your system from your digestive tract. It's the electrolytes that help you move the fluid into your cells, keeps a balance between what's in your cells and the fluid between your cells, what's in your bloodstream, all of that, along with recycling the fluid in your body. And so that's kind of the interesting trick here that we think is happening. And when you take um, sodium and potassium, it talks to your kidneys and well, first it's your brain, sends a message to your kidneys. And that message is don't sort of don't flush water out of your from your bladder out of your system. Let's recycle it back into the body. And when it recycles back, you're not going to the bathroom as much, which means you may not be dehydrating as frequently or as rapidly as you otherwise may do. Now that's theory as far as this product, but it's absolute science as far as what electrolytes do and their function in the body. But the combination of that with the cognizin, the choline, this particular choline supplement, you can't just take any choline. Cognizin is actually, as I said, it is the same as the compound in your brain and your nervous system, phosphatidylcholine. And so it crosses the blood-brain barrier. It's really fast. That's why you feel it so quickly. That combination, the cognizant, is proven. I mean, there is over a decade of research with that ingredient proving its function in adolescent boys, function in women, a female centric study in particular, increasing focus and attention. As I said, motor speed, young boys, just imagine them in esports, right? But
Yeah,
any sport,
right.
right? If you can enhance sort of that motor speed, which is what do I see on the field? Where am I in relation to everyone else in the field? And how do I react to that? That is essential. I can tell you from working with some of the most elite WNBA players and our female soccer players in the world, that recognition as fast as possible, where you are in the field, where your teammates and your opponents are on the field, and how to react faster than anybody else is what makes you a champion. And so this not only can do that, but imagine in a meeting where you're kind of starting to nod off. Well, this, you know, gives you a little mental energy boost. And it's
Yeah.
true. We're not making this up. It's proven science, and it is a really essential nutrient. Choline is a B vitamin. Just to be clear about what is choline, it is a B vitamin. It looks different than many of the other B vitamins, and we don't think of it. B1, B2, B3. We don't hear about it, but it's a problem, and we are low in choline almost universally as Americans. And
Hmm.
the alarm bells have been ringing in the nutrition world for well over a decade, but it's just starting to creep out into the public today. I think this is a great way to make yourself feel a little, get a little boost, stay a little healthier, and taste something fun at the same time. Like you said, I think Pop Rocks and Pixie Stick.
Yeah.
That's kind
Yeah.
of where
Yeah.
I go with this product.
Oh, it's amazing. Listen, Dr. Hutchison has to split in a second, but I just want to give him the last couple, just a couple minutes, real quick, to tie this together, and then, and if you don't mind staying in, Susan, for just a few more minutes.
Sure.
But so Dr. Hutchison, tell me a little bit about, right now, what would you like to ask everybody here, as for their sort of help in and help with?
I just reach out to all of your circle of influence and let them know. Tell them to go to powerplusmouthguard.com. There's lots of great information. There's studies on there if you are interested in that. And just tell all your friends and family that if they're going to play sports, they really need to protect themselves. It's something they can do immediately today to keep themselves safer. A lot of sports, contact sports, have to wear a mouth guard by rule, but the mouth guards they're wearing only protect their teeth, and in most cases, push them out of their physiologic job position and make them play unsafe and make them not function at their optimal level that they possibly can. And so, yeah, just direct all of your people, your family, your friends to this website so that they can learn that there is a better way.
Michael, I really appreciate your time today. I know that you're really swamped and so forth, but thanks for being here. And I'll make sure to share with everyone you're on LinkedIn, the website is there. So everybody, please get a hold of the doctor, and we're off and running with that, hopefully.
Thanks for having me.
All
Nice to
right.
meet you, Susan. Take
Nice
Thanks.
care.
meeting you,
Thanks.
Doc.
We'll see you in a bit. Tell me why, because look, you've been in the business a long time. You've been involved with nutrition a long time, and I know you're particularly excited about this product. And I don't want this to sound like a giant infomercial. I'm trying not to make it sound like that. It's starting to sound like that a little bit, I think, from me. But I'm excited with it and about it because I've seen the impact it's had on people that I've shared it with. I've shared it with my kids. I've shared it with friends and family. I've shared it with also a growing group of student athletes who use it to, before they perform and after they perform. But tell me a little bit more about why you're excited about it and how you see this really impacting the market.
It's been really rare in my career that I lend my name to a product. Just to say, to start out, I am an evidence-based practitioner, and historically there have been very few products that actually have good science behind them. Um, Electrolyte Boost, number one, is simple. It's not hard. Um, it's not uncomfortable to take. It's not a capsule that you don't want to take or a pill that you don't want to take, which makes people think, especially people of my generation, those are things that you do when you're sick and you don't
Right.
want to take pills. And younger people today don't want to take pills either. So it's this very easy tip, tear, and pour. It tastes, everyone I talk to says it tastes like candy. Now, as the nutritionist, where my husband is actually a dentist, tasting like candy may or may not be an advantage. But what we know is that people like it and will take it. And that's important. And there's only good things in it. There is no junk in it. There's
Right.
nothing that I feel like I have to apologize for. and it delivers a really important nutrient along with important electrolytes all at the same time. And I do think people are exhausted, and we're exhausted for a lot of reasons. Diet is a very big one, and I I know that telling people what they should be doing food wise is nice to do, but it doesn't always accomplish anything. They're not going to do it, but they may take this product, and this product can make them feel a little better. You still need to sleep, you still need to eat well, you still need to stay hydrated for sure, you still need to do mental health checkups, you still need to do all of those things. But if you can enhance your brain activity, which is a proven fact with cognizant, if you can enhance your brain energy and your brain activity, then maybe you'll have the inclination to do all of those other things that otherwise you're just too tired to do. So that's a lot of my motivation. How can I best help my clients and the world around me? I got into this because I care about health and studying athletes, and particularly my doctoral research was competitive male bodybuilders. Studying the extremes is what helps us understand what we can do with more normal, because it's hard to study healthy people. There's not enough statistical difference to measure when they start to get a little more healthy. But in the extremes, we can. And so when it comes to mental energy, mental focus, attention disorders, or attention deficits, not disorders, and memory, well, we're all struggling with that. And
Yeah.
so a little boost just feels right to me.
You know what's interesting is one thing we haven't mentioned yet is, to me, one of the big bonuses of what this product is doing that others don't. Right now, tell me a little bit about the primary way people are replenishing electrolytes right now.
Right. As I said, it's all beverages. Like you
Yeah.
have to drink, and you have to drink a lot. You have to carry a bottle around with you. You're buying lots of plastic bottles. I mean, on so many levels, it's not bad. I mean, except for the plastic bottles, but it's not. It's not that it's bad to carry fluids around with you. It's not that hydrating is wrong. All of that is correct. And boy, if you're out in the heat exercising, you better be taking in fluids. But there are lots of times in a day, in a lot for a lot of people, where number one, carrying water around is hard. You talked about the military
Yeah.
or anyone out backpacking. How much water do you want to carry? What if you could get through 3 or 4 or 5 more hours without having to take water, but you could replace your electrolytes? What if you are doing a job where you're doing piecework, or you're GPS monitored, like UPS drivers or other delivery folks, where every time you have to stop, um, either to buy water or to empty your water, you're docked. And so we don't know. I mean, I cannot say that this product will change that for you. What I know is the facts around electrolytes is what their function is. And their function is to help you recycle the water in your body. So we are not competing with fluid products. That's not what we're doing. We're creating a brand new opportunity for electrolyte replacement. That is what is new, that's what is cool. Nothing like this exists in the marketplace, and I am so excited because at this point in my career, I want to do something that creates a legacy, frankly, that really moves the dial, that doesn't just add one more bottle of sports drink to the shelf, This creates something brand new, easily portable, something you can do, take anywhere, stick in your back pocket, put in your kid's lunchbox. And I am fully um, fair with giving this to children. There is science around cognizin and children. So this is safe, it is easy, it's good for you, and it does create a new opportunity for replacing electrolytes.
I think you'd be, actually, you should be on QVC right now. That's fantastic. You're like, you got this down. But no, all joking aside, um, what you're showing right there is something that I talk about when people say, "Well, Mark, how do you not get nervous when you're giving a speech in front of whoever, right, in front of a big crowd?" I always like to say, "Well, when I know my material, there's nothing to be nervous about." It used to be when I'd have to memorize things and remember things that's when I'd be like, "Oh, I get off track."
That's
And
when you needed an electrolyte boost.
where was this, Gary? What the heck were you doing 10 years ago? Anyway, but no, what I want to say though is that when you speak about something and you're passionate about it and you're excited about it and you know that the science backs it up, there's every reason to speak the way you are. This is not, again, it's not a giant commercial for this. This is actually, I mean, you're speaking from fact. This is all true stuff. There's nothing bad in this thing that unless you had, I don't know, a couple hundred of these things a day, which you're not really recommended to do. But even if you have two, three, or four, that's fantastic. You're getting the enough of the cognizant to really keep you at a sort of a mental high level, right?
Right.
I
So
mean,
in fact, only one gives you the boost of the amount of cognizin that shows enhanced brain activity, enhanced focus and attention, increased motor speed and attention in the adolescent boys. The only study that showed more that you needed two electrolyte boost was memory in people
mm,
50 to 85 years old, and that's two a day. You can do two electrolyte boost a day, but I am a food first nutritionist, and so I've talked about eggs. So one egg yolk a day. Eat the whole egg, don't dump the whites down the drain. By the way, good protein in those egg whites. um, One egg yolk a day gives you, not quite half of the amount of choline that you need every day. Um, there are that's in the American diet. That is the most prominent food. You could be eating soy. You'd have to eat a lot of soy. If you're drinking soy milk, it would have to have the fat component. It could not
mm.
be fat-free soy milk. Eating soybeans, like I said, a whole lot of soybeans. Um,
And that's no
that
fun, and it doesn't even taste like this. I
No, and then
mean,
you have to take Beano, so
I
a
mean,
whole
some
nother
people like it, but
product. So we do eat, tofu, tempeh, I mean, but you'd have to eat quite a bit.
yeah,
And so let's say you have a whole egg a day, and let's say that you eat a whole egg with the egg yolk and egg whites, which is what a lot of people are doing now. Maybe you have two egg yolks, that still isn't quite enough. One electrolyte boost puts you over the top, gets you absolutely what we think as a your recommended amount for every day. Do we know what's optimal? No, we
right.
actually don't know with choline what is optimal. We know, and we don't know optimal for any individual. In fact, that we're still working to get that, you know, in, individualized, personalized nutrition. But certainly that would get you to a very good level. And so because it's unlikely that people are going to reach their choline need on a daily basis without a good supplement. And most one a day type daily supplements don't have this kind of available choline. It kind of is going in and out of you. This is a really great product.
Well, and what's interesting is that I think that most people, when they drink the drink, when they're drinking again a Gatorade or they're mixing up the liquid IV or whatever it is, they're drinking it. They don't drink guzzle the whole thing at once. They're drinking it over a period of time, piecemeal, and maybe
Right. And they
stretches out
may
over a
not
while.
drink the whole thing.
Right.
Right.
Right. Whereas this, just one of these, and it's something you can do in a minute or 30
And you
seconds,
get
whatever it
right,
is.
you get your whole dose. And in
Yeah,
my world, we also really do care about the delivery system. And again, you're buying lots of plastic bottles, and I really care about our oceans. I just did a whole podcast on omega 3s and loss of the supply chain for unsustainable fishing for omega 3 fish oil supplements. I mean, our oceans are in trouble. Our world is in trouble with plastics. I love that we're not in the business of selling plastic bottles filled with water.
agreed. Agreed. Hooray. Well, listen, I truly appreciate your time today. I think we've covered a lot of ground. I think that I'm hopeful that the next time we do this in maybe a couple months, many more people will be using this stuff, because it's not something that's just for strictly for hardcore athletes. This is for day to day. This is for soccer moms, soccer dads, whatever, anybody who's active that just needs to keep that replenished. I've spoken to some people who just, they work throughout the day at their desk, but they automatically consume, they drink a lot of this stuff, a lot of electrolytes, just out of habit and out of necessity. This is such a
Mm.
fantastic way around
You
it.
know, you know, I know that the way we're talking, we do really sound like a commercial,
Yeah, yeah.
but I want folks to think about vitamin D and how long you heard about vitamin D before maybe your doctor started to talk to you about vitamin D. And then you started to read about vitamin D and you started to think, well, maybe I do need a little more vitamin D. And what is it associated with? And I can tell you that we've got tests. I mean, you can test your laboratory value of vitamin D. Well, we can't really do that very well yet with choline. But when we start to add it, it's going to be the thing that we hear about next. Like everybody needs to be getting in more choline, just like we had alarm bells about vitamin D. Choline is right behind.
You know, I think that we're going to see, and it's funny because what we haven't talked about, and maybe I hope Gary's not watching right now or he's doing this or something, but what's also, I'll admit that I may have allegedly used this after having had a couple of drinks at night. And um, it's also really fantastic at knocking out, and it's not just for hangover and that kind of thing, but very good friend of mine, he played professional hockey, and he was on a long drive. And he said that during the drive, he and his girlfriend were trying to avoid drinking a lot of fluid because they just didn't want to stop a lot. So they weren't drinking. He wasn't drinking. And he started to get a headache just almost from really dehydration. And he said in the back of his mind, he could hear my voice saying, Electrolyte Boost. So he had one in his car. He did it. He said, Mark, I have to tell you, my headache went away almost instantly. And I actually felt more focused as I was driving. And I felt great. And I was thinking, wow, it's always incredible to me to hear firsthand accounts of something that truly works. And I think this is pretty exciting. Well, look, let's jump back to the tables in a sec. But I truly appreciate you coming in today and not only talking about your history and your past expertise and current expertise, anyway, but with nutrition and its impact, but also talking about this new product, Electrolyte Boost, which is hopefully going to be really taking the world by storm soon. So again, thanks for your time, and really appreciate it.
My pleasure, Mark.